And we continue to track Idalia tonight. Live views right now from Cedar Key. That's near where the storm is expected to make landfall sometime tomorrow morning, bright and early. And you can also see how big that storm is right behind us as well. Thanks for joining us for our continuing coverage this evening. I'm John Brown. It's 8 o'clock. We have a new updated information on Idalia.
And I'm Marlisa Goldsmith. For that, we want to get right over to Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner and Ian Cassette. That 8 o'clock update shows the storm is getting stronger, guys.
Indeed, it's only 6 miles per hour shy now of achieving what's considered major hurricane status of Category 3 or higher. And that's going to have major implications on where this makes landfall.
Yeah, and something that stood out to me is that there's tropical storm force winds that are 160 miles away from the center of this. And that's an important detail for those that are away from the coast here in Central Florida.
Yeah, because as this makes landfall near Perry, Florida, this is in Taylor County, that's just about 175 miles from Orlando. Now, as this approaches Perry, it's going to continue to grow in strength, reaching Category 3 strength, winds of 115, and its wind field will continue to expand. So we fully expect tropical storm force winds to roll right through Central Florida. And because of that, our entire region of Central Florida is under a tropical storm warning, meaning that winds of 39 miles per hour or higher are expected through the day tomorrow. That wind arriving between about 3 a.m. and daybreak from southwest to northeast, and gusts could easily exceed 60 miles per hour when we start to get into the rain squalls as more bands of rain roll through at various intervals for tomorrow as Idalia makes its landfall here in the Panhandle. So the timing in yellow, which includes Orlando, is right before you wake up, probably between 3 and 6. The trees are going to start blowing around. That's also when we're likely to start seeing power outages developing around the region. They could be sporadic around Orlando and then widespread, if not all but guaranteed, for the Nature Coast. Tropical storm warnings in blue through tomorrow, with hurricane warnings in this hot pink color, including Sumter County. Ian, right now, you're tracking some stats and some impacts. You know, this storm is starting to get very organized, which means that impacts in places like Levy County are going to be quite notable.
Yeah, I think this is unfortunately going to be an historic storm for Levy County, measuring up to the historic storm that occurred in 1896, where 10 feet of storm surge came through in Cedar Key, and 10 to 15 feet, unfortunately, are possible here, given the relative location to the storm as it moves onshore and likely makes landfall just to the west. That's going to drive those very strong hurricane force winds right up along from Yankeetown to Cedar Key, where it's just going to inundate these areas and make roads completely impassable and likely damage that will be devastating for the area with 90-mile-per-hour gusts. But that's why it's so important to evacuate those coastal towns. Inland, Chiefland, Williston, even though you may be away from that storm surge, you're still expected to see hurricane force winds, as this is going to be a very fast-moving storm. It's moving at 16 miles per hour right now, but even areas well inland, extending up to southern Georgia, may still experience hurricane force winds with the storm. For Alachua County, that story is the same. Hurricane warnings in effect. Gainesville, Alachua, Waldo, the worst impacts expected to be 4 a.m. to 7 p.m. tomorrow as the storm does exit by the evening, but winds of 40 to 50 miles per hour sustained with 75-mile-per-hour gusts, and stronger than that possible with 2 to 5 inches of rainfall. So we may have some localized flooding on top of that, but we're likely to see some impacts that vary across our area. So some areas may only see some strong gusty winds, Brooks, but the other areas are really going to be unfortunately devastated by this storm.
Yeah, and that word devastation is not one we throw around loosely. It really is a dangerous situation with the storm surge there on the Nature Coast for Levy and Dixie counties. 15 feet of storm surge will inundate some of those areas with over 5 feet of water. Right now, we're catching the last of this current round of rain. It's moving up toward Jacksonville. We've got a big dry slot here where we're not going to see much of anything for several hours, but once we start getting into the early morning hours, another band rolling in, which means more wind. That'll mark the arrival of Idalia's tropical storm force winds here across Central Florida. John, Marlisa, back to you.